So thank you for being here. My name is Chris DeMars, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. You can catch me on Twitter at Salt and Burnham, ChrisDeMars.net on Blue Sky, and oh shit, that's not supposed to happen. Just kidding. I'm a senior developer advocate. I work at TuxCare. TuxCare is a security company. We do endless lifecycle support for end-of-life solutions. So if you're running older versions of Angular, Python, .NET, we come in, we patch those things for you, and we keep you patched moving forward. A little bit about me that Mala said. I'm an international speaker. I am from Detroit, 313. 313 is also my birthday. I love spooky stuff. I am clearly in love with tattoos, competitive paintball player, and a competitive bass angler. And I also believe in cryptids, UFOs, or ghosts and UFOs. So if you don't care about anything I'm talking about today and you want to talk about those three things, please let me know, because we can have total side conversations. Does everybody believe in Bigfoot? Yeah. Come on, you nerds. Everybody believes in Bigfoot, right? What's your favorite cryptid? Mothman, that's the only answer. Mothman is the only answer. Everybody believe in ghosts? All right. What about UFOs? Well, good. Then you're here to talk about UFOs, because I don't talk about a lot of tech. It's like, this is all about UFOs. So hopefully you came and you want to stick around for this. The talk is called Close Encounters of the 𝐇𝐚𝐥𝐤 Exploring UFO Sightings with MongoDB and Next.js. We're going to talk about a little bit of this stuff, but like I said, the cool stuff is going to happen right now and at the end. But first, I want to go through some UFO and UAP history. Does everybody know what UAP stands for? Yeah. What's it stand for? Unidentified aerial phenomena. My man, Jeff in the front row. Let's give him applause for that one. Awesome. No, I love it. So we're going to talk a little bit about sightings and abductions before we get into the tech, and then deploying some data. Was anybody alive in 1947 for this? Of course you were. So July 1947 was the Roswell Incident. When Mac Brazel, he identified some things that were on his property. Then we had Jesse Marcel come through, and then there was a whole lot of, this is a weather balloon, this isn't a weather balloon, and then it came out later in the 70s. Jesse Marcel said this was not a weather balloon. This was actual stuff that we recovered from a crash in Roswell in 1947. So if you weren't familiar with Roswell in 1947, now you are. Is anybody familiar with the Betty and Barney Hill story? No? How many people believe in UFOs and UAPs in here? Then y'all should know about Betty and Barney Hill. Come on. So Betty and Barney Hill, first documented abduction case in the 60s. This was highly controversial because this was during the Civil Rights Movement, and things like this just didn't happen. So they couldn't come out and talk about the abduction that happened because they were in fear of the repercussions. But sort of the story was they were coming back from a trip. They were going back to their home. They lost track of time, at least a couple hours. There was keys that were left on the table when they woke up. They don't know how the keys got there. There were markings on their vehicle. There were stains on Betty's dress. And at the end of the day, she recalled through psychosis the Zeta Reticuli star system. And it was corroborated with another physicist that it was one for one, the Zeta Reticuli star system. How did she know that? She wasn't a physicist. She wasn't into astrology, astronomy, any of that. So it's kind of one of those things that is up in the air. Another one that I want to talk about is in March 20th, 1966, Dexter, Michigan, just on the west side from where I live in Metro Detroit. A bunch of people saw a handful of different sightings in 1966. They brought in J. Allen Hynek, who was a physicist and a ufologist, to kind of figure this stuff out. He said that it was just a bunch of swamp gas, blah, 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 blah. He actually created the Close Encounters system. If anybody's familiar with that, J. Allen Hynek created that system, C1, C2, C3, or CE1, CE2, CE3. And later down the line, it came out that, oh, hey, this was not swamp gas. This was actual UFO sighting that happened in Dexter, Michigan. And y'all have a famous one here, plenty of them. But there's one famous one that happened in 1997. Does anybody know what that one is? The Phoenix Lights. On my birthday, not the year I was born, but March 13th, 1997, the Phoenix area, this whole area right here, a delta-shaped 5-light craft was spotted for a very long time. Kurt Russell, who was actually an amateur pilot at the time, saw this as he was flying as well. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's go on to the tech. So in this talk that we're going to be doing, that I'm going to be doing, we're going to be using Next. So is anybody using Next right now? Cool. Sweet. So Next is the React framework for the web. I also like using Vite, but Next Vite, it's got built-in optimizations, dynamic HTML streaming, React server components, route handlers. It's really, really cool. Also has server actions. The way you install it is, where are we going here? Right here, and it's going to work. It's not going to work. Oh, just when, oh, there we go. npx create next app at latest if you want to install that. And then we have the world's populist, or the most popular document database. Anybody using Mongo? Cool. So Mongo's a really great database. It's document model. It's got a flexible schema, distributed and resilient, horizontal scaling, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to be using Netlify to deploy all this. Is anybody using Netlify? Cool. So Netlify, all-in-one platform to build, deploy, manage, and extend modern web apps. You get preview URLs for sharing work in progress, which is really cool. Security tools, there's monitoring performance tools and visitor traffic behavior, custom serverless forms, MCP server, so much more other stuff that you can do in Netlify today, which is pretty sweet. So all three of these combined is going to get us our UFO data. And we're also going to be using Material UI to style this and get it all looking well. I didn't feel like writing custom CSS for this when I wrote this talk originally. So it's just a basic, boring kind of dashboard that consumes data and displays it. And it looks just like this. So you have a header, you have a search field. So that search field, you can search by the abduction or the sighting. You can search by the state, the city, whatever it is, and then it'll filter down and then filter out when you backspace. So it's pretty sweet. The way you do this is, since I use Mongo, you install the MongoDB integration into your Next app. Mongo provides a Next integration already, so there's like nothing else that you really have to do. It's npx create React app or create Next app, and then the example, you just pass it an example flag. Make sure that you pass it with MongoDB so Mongo knows, and then just call it whatever you want. So we called it Close Encounters. After you do that, you cd in the Close Encounters folder, you npm I all the things, and then you run npm run dev, and that should spin up your Mongo and Next kind of scaffolded project without anything in it. So with Netlify, we're going to be using Compass. Does anybody use Compass to consume data? Sweet. So Compass is really cool. It's just a UI to consume data that you can connect a connection string to, depending on what platform you're using. This one, I'm using Atlas. So Atlas is another platform where you can deploy to the cloud for free, which is pretty sweet. You don't have to pay for anything, at least for one cluster. And you take the connection string from Atlas, you put it into Compass, consumes that data, spits it out, handles all that middleware information, and then puts it out to the web. So Compass, it's a free interactive tool for querying, optimizing, and analyzing your MongoDB data. You get key insights, drag and drop to build pipelines, and more. So this is what it looks like. This is just the UI right here. It contains the data that you put in there. Before you do all that, you got to put in your connection string. So like I was saying, depending if you're using DO, with DigitalOcean, or if you're using another deployment platform or Atlas, you take that connection string, you paste it here. You can give it a couple parameters. You can give it like a color to label it if you want to, and then you just connect, and it should connect directly to that database source for the cloud. So the structure of this, it's just a regular React Next structure, right? You have your components in your component folder, you have pages, and that's kind of the gist of all of this. In our pages, we're pulling in a bunch of cool stuff from Material, so we'll just run through all that. We have a box component. We bring in types for TypeScript, container, box, header. The encounter card is the card that we're creating as a component that is also using Material UI. Text field that comes from Material, use state, we know what that is, it comes from React, and then typography from Material UI. And then we also have our type, so we're declaring our type. It's called encounter, it has the ID, it has a name, the location, the close encounter level, the extraterrestrial type, the image, and the URL. So the name is the name of the sighting, right? Phoenix Lights. The location, Phoenix, Arizona, close encounter level, CEC 1, 2, or 3. The extraterrestrial type, whether that's a Nordic, a gray, a reptilian. There's various levels to this shit, just so you know. Extraterrestrial type, we have the image of that that's getting pulled from wherever, usually wiki images, and then the URL to a Wikipedia page or a page that talks about that sighting in general. And this is also part of it, the index props. This comes directly from Next and Mongo, so you don't really have to worry about that. And then we set up the index.tsx. So we have, we're awaiting all of this stuff. This all comes from Mongo, and in Next, you're going to connect the database, which is called UFOs. In this case, in Compass, it's changed because I've had issues with deploying the data. We change it to sightings encounter, so we bring in that collection. We're going to limit it to 30, and then we return props. Is connected true. This all comes from Next and Mongo. Catch some errors, and then that's pretty much all it is on the index TSX. And then we just bring in the filtering, so we can filter down by the name, the city, the state, wherever, the country, because we talk about the Zimbabwe, the Ariel school abduction in Zimbabwe that also happened in '93. So this does all the filtering. And then we just start creating out the UI. So we have our head, title, UFO encounters, and sightings. Then we have our header, which we close out. We set up our container. We have all the box information, text fields, typography. We have our main, which also displays the encounter card. And then, boop, oh, footer. All right. And then this is just our header, TSX. Very short. It just brings in the stuff that we need, the UI components from material, and we just build that out, right? So we bring in the box, we bring in the app bar, the toolbar, the typography, and then we close it out, and that's good to go. And then all it does, it just looks like that. It's super simple. It's short, it's a small file. We're not doing anything fancy here. We're just titling it, making it full width, and then giving it a background color. Then we have our encounter card. Like I said, this is the boring stuff. We just bring in the same stuff before. We bring in all the MUI stuff, the material UI stuff to create it. And then we have our type. So we just bring in our type, our ID, our name, our location, our close encounter level, our extraterrestrial type, our image, and our URL. And that's really what it looks like. We have our image, we have the name, Betty and Barney Hill abduction, New Hampshire, USA. It was a close encounter level 4. The species, they were gray aliens. Gray aliens usually come from the Zeta Reticuli system. If I'm talking a lot of stuff that makes no sense, please do some research on this, because it is what it is, and this stuff is amazing. I don't know how much time I have left, but I love this picture right here. I'm going to show a little demo. Do I have time for a demo? I'm guessing I have time for a demo. I'm going to show the demo. I'm going to close it out, and then we can rock and roll with the next speech.